This custom 1/3 scale Michael Keaton Batman statue, I have so much to say about it. First of all, you won't believe how incredibly rare it is. Second of all, it actually corrects some inaccuracy that we saw in the films. Yes, the statue corrects the inaccuracies. Third, it totally fucked my collection. And we're going to cover all of that today in the review. What the hell are you looking at? Hey, my name is Mr. X. Welcome to the Extreme Channel. We are giving away $1,000 statues to you guys. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey, thank you for tuning in to the Extreme Channel. If you're new here, I like extreme collectibles, and I love Michael Keaton as Batman. He is my Batman. While arguably I do like The Dark Knight with Christian Bale, those movies better, this was my Batman. I remember seeing this in the theater in San Francisco in 1989. They oversold the theater. We sat on the stairs to watch it. And I remember so much of my childhood around this. I remember getting trading cards. One of them, he was actually in this pose, which we're going to talk about. But anyway, this is a custom statue. So let me give you a little bit of background on how I said this ruined my collection. So for the longest time, I was collecting DCU or DC Universe pieces, both in 1/3 scale, like this guy right here, so 3 times smaller than a real life version, and in life-size busts. So I actually owned a life-size bust of Michael Keaton right here. It was a custom piece, and it was absolutely amazing. I keep saying was because I recently sold it. I'm actually selling my entire DC Universe line. But the whole goal was to get every single Batman that I love and that they make, which is everybody but Clooney and Adam West, and then also get matching busts with them. So over 3 years ago, this went up for pre-order, and for some reason, there was never a Michael Keaton in this 1/3 scale. I owned Sideshow's 1/4 scale version years ago, right here, before I even had a YouTube channel. But anyway, then a custom manufacturer, and I can't give you any information on it, revealed this right here, and no doubt I said I was in. Now, a lot of things transpired. So first of all, Prime One Studio, who is a big maker of 1/3 scale DC pieces, specifically movie pieces, in fact, I think all the other Batmans I own are from Prime One Studio, they said, we're going to do a Batman from Michael Keaton, and we're going to do a Bruce Wayne. So I'm like, shit. Well, I already have this one on order. I don't want to cancel it. I don't know which one's going to be better. And then this one kept getting delay after delay after delay for a lot of reasons. Supply chain, COVID, the fact that it's such a rare statue. There's only a few of these made. We're going to talk about that. And by the time I got it here on the table, I don't even want it anymore because I'm getting rid of all those statues. I already got rid of the Keaton bust. And here are the other ones I'm talking about that I have. Now, these guys right here, all 1/3 scale, the other Batmans, like I said, everybody but Clooney and West. Make sure you stay tuned because I'm going to do a video with all of them on the table and rank so many different things about Batman statues before we sell these off. Now, if you're interested in the 4 sell-off videos, either A, email me at mrx@theextremechannel.com and offer me really stupid money for these, or B, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and wait for the end of the month videos where we sell statues. Besides, you don't want to miss the comparison between all the live-action Batmans we have coming up. So that's what's going on, but he's finally here. He's significantly different, and we're going to talk about those screen inaccuracies as we go through the review. And another thing I'm going to do, I'm going to point out some basic comparison differences between this and the Prime One Studio statue, even though I haven't seen it in person, just in pictures. But let's start with the concept. So all of these have a conceptual base, I feel like, for the most part, and we'll talk more about that when we compare them all. But this one is no different. It's a museum-style base. It has the original Batman writing and logo on one side of the museum-style base, which almost looks like a bat cave. You have a stencil drawing of the original Batmobile and the original Batwing. And by the way, if you were alive in the 80s and you were a child in the 80s like me and you saw those on screen, it was unbelievable. But he's standing there in a museum pose with his cape flowing in the wind. Now, I believe this is taken from a direct scene. Obviously, the base isn't, but I believe his poses, for the most part, the creator of this did a few different things we're going to talk about. This is right after he nuked Axis Chemicals. So he sent in the Batmobile via remote with a bomb because he thought Joker was in there. And then the Batmobile came out and blew up Axis Chemicals. And Joker, I believe, was in a helicopter, if I'm not mistaken, up in the air and shined a spotlight on him. And he said, "You missed again, Batboy," or something of that nature. And he's looking up at Joker. I believe that is the scene they tried to emulate. And it is really cool. It's like a moment frozen in time. In fact, it reminds me of a cover I bought specifically for this. I better go get that. Stay here. Well, it'll just be a second because magic of CGI. So very similar to that pose right there, although I think it's based off of the movie. So I like it. I love how the cape is flowing. I love that it's sculpted instead of cloth, which is what we see on almost all the other statues, including the Prime one. That's a big difference. So I give the concept a 4 out of 5. And the reason I give it 4 out of 5 is simply for the fact that it's unique, it's different. Now, some of the conceptual stuff actually will fall into design, because one of the things the creator had the challenge of doing is, when I make a Michael Keaton Batman, do I do Michael Keaton from Batman or Batman Returns, the sequel? He wore the same suit, so he tried to do both. And we're going to talk about that after the unboxing and assembly. Big box, which surprised me, shipping wasn't too expensive. It was the black foam with tape. I hate the tape because it doesn't stick very well. It's hard to repack. But it was 2 layers. The first layer had everything except the main body because the cape was attached to the main body. All right, so when I say he tried to do both, that's because there's multiple display options. Let's look at those. First, his right hand. You have 3 options here. One is he can be with a fist, and I think this works really well with the other portrait we're going to look at. The other one, the hand is just down to the side. And the last one, he is holding the grappling gun. Then there are 2 portraits. Now, this is unique from Prime 1 Studio. They only have a cowled portrait. And again, I believe this is from Batman 1. But then they also included an unmasked portrait here. Now, the Prime 1 Studio also had an unmasked portrait, but it was with Bruce Wayne, so him in a suit. Now, I'm going to go back to this unmasked portrait really quick. Look at it. So this, I believe, if you see right below his chin, this is when his mask was ripped off. This was at the end of Batman Returns. The second installment with Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny DeVito, Christopher Walken, star-studded cast, right? The big noticeable difference is the eye makeup. So there was actually a spoof, an error in Batman Returns. Here it is right here. He's taking off his mask, and he clearly has the eye makeup, and then the eye makeup disappears. And I speculate they did that because they didn't want him to look goofy. Because honestly, it looks a little goofy with the statue here, although in my opinion, it's accurate. Now, one interesting thing is, in the newest Batman movies with Robert Pattinson, when he took his mask off, he still had the black makeup around his eyes. And since he looks emo goth, it kind of flows well. That's a tough thing to do if you're the creator of a statue. Okay, the film made a horrible spoof mistake. He should have the eye makeup on. Do I follow the film or do what should be accurate? And they chose to do what is accurate here. I could see arguments for either ways, but I appreciate that. So let's get the dimensions on this. Now, the base itself has a circumference of about 11 or 12 inches. However, the cape's almost 31 inches wide, maybe a little bit more. And then it adds about 7 or 8 inches of depth. And then the tallest part is just about 27 inches and a quarter. Keep in mind the other portrait would be a little bit shorter because you don't have the ears on the cowl. Now, when you saw me assemble it, the sculpted cape is decently heavy. I was a little worried there would be leaning issues, but there doesn't seem to be. And I really like how this cape flows. I mean, this looks great in my opinion. It's more of a sculpt thing, but I think you have to talk about it when you talk about design. One thing I would have liked to see is additional portrait display for both portraits. That would have been next level, but they probably didn't because they made so few of these, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So anyway, I give the design a 4 out of 5. I think it's pretty clever. I appreciate the artistic interpretation, and yeah. So let's look at the paint and sculpt. Prime 1 Studio, what we're comparing this to, kind of comparing it to, they are top-notch with paint and sculpt and 1/3 scale DCU pieces. So it's probably better than this one. I'm assuming that. But this looks pretty damn accurate, especially for the time. Remember, this was filmed in 88 and 89. That is last millennium. A millennium ago almost. Okay, not really, but that sounds fun. So we're actually going to start with the portraits, which we typically don't do. So first of all, the hair is a little bit of a mess, but I appreciate it. But I think there's a big miss on the unmasked Cal right there, the strands. I get it. They wanted to make his hair look disheveled, but that doesn't look the best in my opinion. I'm surprised how clean the paint actually is. Kind of even hard to focus on it. But I'm just not a fan of those strands because clearly they're painted on. But I think the likeness is good. You know, I think they did a really nice job with the likeness. While clearly it's not 100%, there's no doubt this is Michael Keaton as Batman. Even more so when you have his head on the body. When it's off, there's a little bit more. His lips are a little pink, but they typically are, so they did that on both of them, which we're going to look at. And then, of course, there's that eye shadow that we talked about. They definitely look like decals for eyes, but they look good. The blood and scrape could be better. You know, while I really appreciate having this portrait, I probably wouldn't ever display it. At least I won't for the next few months while I own it. So we'll come up to the portrait of the cowl in a second, but I really like the base. Yes, my voice just cracked. So the concrete look below, I think that's solid. Nice different shades in there. The stencils of the Batmobile and the Batwing look great as well. And I really like how classy the Batman, it's not really the logo, but the font, I guess is the best way to say it. As you look at his outfit, it looks like this really durable rubber material that's seen a lot of wear, which is exactly what they intended in the movie. So I think it looks really nice. It's not over accentuating his six-pack, although you see it to an extent. And you got to think about it. If they have body armor, and this is the same with every superhero, they wouldn't carve the body armor to have a rippling muscles around it, unless they wanted to intimidate criminals, I guess. But even the boots look great. There's a lot of detail, some folds in it. And what's interesting is, while it's all black, there's a little bit different contrast on the blacks. And I think that does good for variation within the statue. His gauntlets look nice. One of the things you can't see is they do have those spikes. And I don't remember those from the movie. I really don't. I remember them, of course, from Christian Bale. Does it show in the comic? No. But it looks good. Again, it's a little bit of contrast. Same with the copper gauntlet right there. The detail in his leather gloves look great. There is the Batarang. Kind of a copper color. The bat symbol looks fantastic. Kind of a trivia, if you didn't know, the Keaton Batman, or the Val Kilmer Batman had the same bat symbol. Let's look at his cape. This is really nice. The flow of it looks like it is blowing in the air. So really big props to them, to the sculpt and style of the cape. Looks heavy. It was heavy in the movie as well. A lot of that folding texture embedded in it really helps with kind of the flow of it, I think. Really impressive. His portrait, I like this portrait much better, but I do have one big issue with it. So Cal looks fine. Let me refocus for a second here. Cal looks fine. And even his face, I think looks nice. Kind of has that Keaton, almost rosy cheeks he had sometimes. But there's a little bit of more QC paint issues right there. And it's tiny and it's small, but because his head is propped up, you see it more. The eyes look fantastic. They look even better on here than they do the unmasked portrait. But it's a good piece. I would love to, see Prime 1 in person or actual compare it someday. But definitely satisfied with the paint and sculpt. You would think there's too much black on this, but I think the gray of the base, the highlights of the gold we talked about, it looks really good. And I like the different textures on the cape to the suit to mix it up. But then you have some of the issues I talked about with the hair and the nose on the cowl. So I think the paint's a 3 out of 5 overall. It's good. It's what you expect. Sculpt, You know, the likeness I think is really good on both of them, especially the fact that it's, you know, not hyper realistic silicone or anything like that. Clearly it is who you think it is, and his likeness isn't done too often. I think the sculpt's a solid 3 out of 5 as well on this, the entire thing. And I think the addition of how the cape flows really is impressive. So, as I said, one of the issues is when I bought this, I had these grandiose plans for my collection, and I don't have them anymore. And then Prime 1 coming up with one kind of threw things in the mix. However, I still got a good deal on this. So this was $1,100 plus a few $100 shipping. Or I believe Prime 1's is $1,500 or $1,600, if not more. And they don't have the unmasked portrait. And it's a cloth mixed media cape instead of a sculpted cape. Here's the kicker on this. They only made 10. They only made 10 in the 1/3 scale, which is crazy rare. So because of that, I think this has good value. Like I could probably sell it for about $1,500, I would speculate, or even $1,600, maybe make $50 to $100 profit, because it's different than the Prime 1, and that museum pose, people might not have loved that. So I give the value a 4 out of 5 because of the rarity, and it is a pretty beloved character for those of us from the 80s. Does he have the X factor? Is he a 5 out of 5? You know, I'm not disappointed with him at all. The cape is the most impressive part to me. I really, really like that. The flow of it. It does take up a lot of room. Temporarily, after I do that video, I'm going to display all of them down here, so I'll be enjoying the visuals of this guy for a while. I was going to say I was going to enjoy him, but that's not true. Pleasantly surprised. I was worried the Prime 1 would be better, but I think this is a very solid statue. It's exactly what I wanted and I paid for. What do you guys think? This or Prime 1? Throw that down in the comments below because I'd love to hear your opinion, and you could win a statue. As we try to grow this channel, we like to reward you guys for watching and subscribing. So because of that, every 5,000 milestone when it comes to subscribers, we give away a couple $1,000s worth of statues. We've actually given away over 20 statues. To win one was easy. First, you gotta be subscribed to the channel. You'll get bell notifications when videos drop. Each video that drops, you wanna make a comment on those videos. We pick a random video, we give away statues based on a comment. You can say whatever you want. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in to my Batman. This is my Batman. Hope it's your Batman. Appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned for that other video. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.